Hello and welcome to a video interview with Rackspace on overcoming cloud challenges in financial services. I'm here with Rhys Sharp, Solutions Director at Rackspace. So, which factors most often hold clients back from moving to the cloud?
Well, we see quite a lot of different factors creeping into the conversation. They can range from technical issues through to cultural and also the compliance and regulatory frameworks that creep in. I think one of the bigger challenges, as we see it at the moment, is really having everybody bought into the cloud journey. So that really comes down to the culture of the organisation and moving that culture to a more digitally focused culture, because ultimately the cloud transformation is supporting typically a digital transformation. And overcoming that has been a real challenge for some of our clients. We're just starting to see the ones that are leading the way are doing that via taking a much more cohesive approach within the business, managing stakeholders from right across the business, bringing them into the journey as it were, and then moving forward from there. And that may include the technical teams, the compliance teams, but also importantly the business owners.
Okay, that makes sense. You mentioned regulators there. How do you find the kind of regulatory attitude towards cloud at the moment?
Well, that's also been really interesting. So we recently ran an event on which we had a regulator on the panel. The input from them was great. It was cloud is open for business. And so it put the whole audience at ease that the regulator was actually supporting the use of cloud within the financial services sector. But we still see that as a blocker. It's just a case of the organisations really need to get on top of it from a very early stage, because cloud is a very different delivery mechanism.
Yeah, of course. I guess one of their problems and problems for the business is legacy processes and systems. What sort of issues do those cause?
Well, absolutely. It combines into everything. You almost got like a legacy organisation trying to do something that's extremely modern. But legacy systems are also causing a real challenge. Typically, the sorts of legacy systems that we end up dealing with are not really cloud friendly at all.
Okay.
And likewise, they're also typically within the fortress of the business. So not very simple to move them to cloud. So we find that organisations are now having to find new solutions. One of the things that comes up is the data that's locked within those legacy systems and understanding how portable that is. Can that data actually be moved into a new environment to deliver a new business outcome?
Okay. I guess and people are also potentially a problem, but also a solution. Are there skills gaps kind of emerging within financial services businesses?
Yeah, we see that right across the piece, to be honest. And what we're finding is that whilst there's a desire and some really, really smart people in the financial services sector, some of the challenges is shifting the thinking, because the way in which you architect, deliver, operate cloud platforms is very different to their traditional in-house environments. So getting the skills to supplement the team is really hard. We find it hard as a cloud supplier to get the skills that allow us to do our business. So it's even harder for those financial services organisations to do the same.
Yeah, and is part of that then, you mentioned earlier, the kind of cultural aspect. What needs to change in terms of an organisation, organisation's culture?
As I mentioned earlier, the whole digital delivery is a real change, and we see. That there needs to be more of a shift left in thinking. So when we talk about the shift left, it's about getting on top of some of the known issues early on, plan for them. So it's almost, when we talk about compliance, it's compliance by design rather than doing it later and trying to apply it to something that's already there.
Sure.
So these new systems need to be designed correctly. And the work that we've been doing with many of our financial services clients have left us in a position where we actually understand a lot of the language and a lot of the challenges that they face, and we can guide them through some of those processes.
Okay. Explain to me the difference then between kind of public, private, and hybrid cloud solutions? What's
Yeah, sure. It's an interesting concept and such. You know, I think really the private cloud is often referred to as what people have within their own data centers or own environments. Okay. You could argue whether that's really cloud or not, because at the end of the day, cloud is really, it's almost a financial construct that allows you to consume things and pay for what you consume rather than paying for things up front. So, but when we look at private cloud is typically it's a focused cloud platform for a particular customer. We then have the public cloud. So the public cloud really today is referred to as the hyperscalers. So, when we look at the likes of Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and coming through Alibaba, those are the hyperscaler cloud providers that are really there for public consumption.
Sure.
And then when we get to that hybrid and multi-cloud discussion, the hybrid cloud discussion is really about it's about having infrastructure that's maybe private or on-premise, combined with that cloud infrastructure to deliver the new outcomes, and we see that playing out substantially in the financial services sector. Quite often, a lot of those systems, very core systems, are not cloud friendly. They retained on site, but we're still connecting to the consumer via the cloud, and so that hybrid environment actually evolves from there.
Okay.
And then we have the multi-cloud environment, which is really looking at multiple public cloud providers, maybe combined with your internal systems, and those multiple cloud environments are starting to evolve now, typically because people are finding that there are specific workloads that suit specific types of or specific vendors of cloud.
Sure. Okay. You mentioned earlier on data portability as well. Is that to do with the quality of the data and being able to move it, or explain to me, data portability and why it's so important?
Yeah, so as organisations go on this digital journey and they're trying to, the outcome there really is to connect in new ways to their consumers and their customers. And to do that, they will typically develop new products for them. When those are being delivered in the cloud, you've got to ensure that the data set that you have is accurate as possible, but also is portable, so it can move into the cloud and stand there on its own. It's not coming back to the mothership all the time. And so we're just starting to see organisations plan for that portability.
Yeah.
And it will help them in the future as well, because if they want to consume additional clouds or they want to move clouds, then that portability will also help them achieve that end goal as well.
Okay. Presumably there's also organisations that aren't suitable for the cloud, or parts of organisations that are better kind of kept on premise? Yeah.
And I think we'll see that for many years to come. There are systems and solutions that the organisations have that just are not portable, and they fall into a category of what we would typically refer to as refactor. So in order to allow them to ever exist in the cloud, they need to be rebuilt, refactored, re-engineered, and that sort of activity can take time. So we'll see those organisations, they'll either go through that refactoring and rebuilding process or re-engineering process, or they will just effectively engineer around it and let the system naturally die, for want of a better word.
Okay. Is part of that also to do with security, and generally what are the kind of security concerns around moving to the cloud?
Well, they can be far-reaching. We all understand about GDPR, but those sorts of regulations and those sorts of policies go much deeper and broader within the financial services sector. And you're right in that some of those systems are constrained by those security models that relate to those policies. But what we're seeing is when we talk about the shift left again, when organisations start to plan for the fact that there's a particular compliance or a particular security model around the system and data that they're handling.
Yeah.
Once it's planned for, they can engineer that in and engineer it in call it a cloud native way.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, look, thank you very much for taking the time today, and thank you for watching.